So this project is the third in a series of projects. This particular project is focused on student learning and student feedback in particular. So it was constructed with Dr. Andrew Waitman at the beginning of last year to use a process of action learning sets. So small groups of academics, usually 3, develop a question, methods to approach that, look at their data, actually to give them some support in trusting their data and actually believing what it was telling them, and then to get to this point today where we're presenting it.
You know, we did the Mind the Gap project, and I went into that, I guess, a little bit arrogantly, thinking it's going to be great because I'm going to interact with teachers and I'm going to learn lots of things that I can pass on to my colleagues, this wisdom, because my teaching's good, my teaching isn't a problem. And it was a real kind of penny drop moment, really, working with teachers from other areas, you know, from primary schools, from secondary schools. And Glenn, do you remember when we went to a colleague's lecture and we sat in the lecture with the teachers, and they went through the lecture and we were sitting there going, this is a really good lecture, you know, great lecture, you know, really good visuals, it's brilliant, you know, we came out really great. And then we spoke to the teachers and the teacher said, you got a problem with engagement? And we're like, what do you mean? This was a really good lecture. And they said, have you heard about Kagan structures? I was like, what are Kagan structures? And then we went through this journey about learning about Kagan structures and how you can ask questions. So I found it really useful, and that was kind of me very humble to realise actually there's a hell of a lot that we can all learn about this, and I wanted to try and work on a project to give other people the same experience, to interact with teachers, to interact with each other. So I was hoping through this project that actually it would enable us to engage with each other, collaborate and try and solve some of the problems ourselves. And when we solve the problems ourselves and we were empowered to do so, I think that can be a lot better outcomes than if we're just kind of, you know, passive and things come along and we do them, but our hearts aren't really in it. A week in SEERIH was marking criteria, timely feedback and how student feedback is acted on. So assessment and feedback, and that's why we focused it on this.
My role in the project was to support a group of professionals from the university in investigating their own practice, an area of their practice, and it was essentially to support them with some basic action research skills, and they were looking at assessment.
Being part of the action research group, it actually broadened my horizons, and actually we work quite interdisciplinary because we're actually from different backgrounds, but we also have the very common interest trying to improve the students' feedback at a school level.
So I was at the HA for 3.5 years, and I worked with 52 universities in that time on a whole manner of different assessment and feedback related projects. What I'm going to try and do is bring some of the key insights that I think we need to be thinking about. And I'm going to talk about assessment and feedback together, because for me, from my experience, we can't separate these two things out. We can't separate out feedback and assessment design and make good sense. But are all forms of feedback good feedback for students to receive? Students will typically take feedback on a very personal level. It's my task, my product, and you're responding to that, even if they've responded to that task objectively, and by that I mean passively, haven't quite engaged in the way that we'd like, but they will still take that feedback on a personal level. Yeah, so not all feedback is good, not all feedback is neutral in a sense that we'd expect or like. So critical feedback without strategies for improvement undermines performance. So again, if we're not giving them feedback, and we're giving them feedback on the task and then that's it. The first group was talking about not just having feedback on the task, but also what to do with it. So the strengths, weaknesses and improvements. We've got the 3Q response. Yeah, so 3 questions. The first question is, to what extent has the work satisfied the assessment criteria? Okay, well that's the performance element, yeah, strengths. Where can work be improved? More importantly, where are the opportunities that students are going to get to improve that work moving forwards?
I've really enjoyed it because it's given me an opportunity to continue kind of studying how to teach, because when I started this role I knew how to research but I didn't know how to teach, and I'd never applied one to the other, so I've really enjoyed the opportunity to do that. But I've enjoyed it. I wish I've had more chance to put more into it really. It's really nice to be able to share research but on teaching with other practitioners, certainly to the people who are interested.
The benefit of doing this work is we've got people that are teaching focused, looking at their practice and they're reflecting on their practice, so that's the main benefit of doing this work. I'm encouraged today because people have actually done something, rather than sitting and letting the email die in their inbox, and rather than just letting somebody else do it, they've stepped up, they've done some work. Some of the process has been quite painful for those individuals, but they have actually shared their practice with their colleagues, and we need to get much better at that. They're just saying, this worked for me, this didn't work so well, I've learned something from it, in sharing those practices. So it's really good to see people coming along and actually having a good debate about what's worked, what hasn't worked, and what might be pushed forward in the future.
Yes But has been a Cheryl funded project as a collaboration between MACE and SEERIH, both in the Faculty of Science and Engineering. We thank all academics, support staff for engaging. We thank our external colleagues from the Expansive Education Network and also from Teesside University who have supported us in the thinking behind student feedback.